Hey everyone, my name is Lynn.
And I'm Mark. Today we're going to be talking about our recent trip to GTIA ChannelCon in San Diego. We had a great trip, and we're going to talk about a few of the things that we saw there. But we're going to start with just sort of one observation where obviously a big topic this year was AI adoption. And there was a big emphasis on MSPs really learning AI on their own, and that they be their own best customer zero. And that was consistent across many sessions, and it seemed to make sense at the time. But later, Lynn and I were talking about that after the conference, and it became a little less clear. So we'll give you an example. So Lynn, if someone asked you to teach them to swim and you didn't know how to swim, what would you do?
I'd call a swimming coach.
Exactly. So we feel that MSPs are putting a lot of pressure on themselves to learn AI on their own. and one of the, not only is that extremely difficult, but it's also very time consuming. And what may be happening during that window while you're focused on your MSP and trying to do it yourself is that AI consultancies, AI agencies are approaching your customer and actively soliciting business that arguably should be yours. And so there's some downsides to experimenting on yourself first rather than getting some outside help. Let's jump right in with like our own example.
Yeah. So for example, we started this business together, Mark and I, beginning of January, and we were trying to figure out exactly what offerings we as a company or as people could give to the industry. So we, were going around just trying to figure that out. We tried to market ourselves. We didn't really have exactly what we were offering solidified, and we were doing cold emails, like trying to figure out our own go-to market strategy. None of these things were working. We were doing this for 2-3 months. So then at that point, we were just like, okay, we gotta just find someone, hire someone to help us and guide us through this, like figure out what we were as a value prop and everything, and have our own go-to market strategy. So we hired a marketer we've been working really closely with, and she's been fantastic. Shout out to Jen for helping solidify all this for us. And yeah, so that's when we decided we need to go help for that.
Thanks, Lynn. So we're going to just cut over now to just a very limited set of things that we picked up at the conference. So these are 4 trends that were pretty apparent to us. Pricing, or this discussion of, are we moving away from a per seat model? Data is a big one. Governance, shadow AI. But the one that we're going to talk about today is AI adoption by MSPs. And so let's take a minute and really discuss that. And what we see here is that it's partly timing. But really what is key is to get out there talking to your customers. And of course, the natural reaction is to talk technology, but we actually think that that's not really what we were hearing. I think that it's much more important to get out there and talk to your customers about their bigger, broader business problems. And if you can get to that point of really getting to the root of their bigger, broader business problems and away from tech for a bit, I think that AI will naturally come into the conversation rather than starting with AI as a conversation point. Really start with those bigger problems. And you don't need to necessarily be an expert in all of that, but at least start the discussion, because that will inform you as to what to do next.
So we can tell you with our own experience with one of our clients. One of our clients essentially was tasked to build out this AI strategy and policy within her organization, and she knew all the business use cases. She knew the systems that were involved in all of this, and then she even knew the people that she thought would be helpful in determining this AI strategy, but she didn't know exactly where to start. So she had all these pieces of information, but just didn't know how it could piece together. So that's where we came in to help work really closely with her, and just get her started on that by mapping out kind of the business processes that they were finding really sticky, and how AI and data could help with that.
And really what was so helpful with that process is that when we started working on the actual technology work, is that we knew we were starting from a really solid foundation of real business problems. We knew who the stakeholders were that we could talk to get, to really find out more about the problem. And so then really the technology solution, which we typically use, is Microsoft Fabric and Anthropic Claude. Those are big toolboxes, but you really have to know first what are the problems that you're trying to solve before you dive in. And so this was just a great example of where customer was ready for AI. They were open to suggestion, but they needed some help on how to get started.
Yeah, so overall, our first ChannelCon was awesome. It was great being surrounded by such a community focus community, and yeah, everyone was so welcoming, especially to newcomers like us getting into the industry. So shout out to GTIA for hosting an incredible conference, and obviously bringing in Ron Howard and all the 80s rockers. Not like I knew a lot of the songs, but I knew a bit of it, so it was great.
And of course, I knew all the artists. Anyway, that's it for today. Again, thank you to GTIA. And one last thing is that Lynn and I just wrote an article about the AI opportunity for MSPs that we will put the link in the description and comments. So.
Yeah, so thanks for Barry and McKinley for letting us work together and collaborate on that. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.